What is up, YouTube, and welcome to Prix Game. Excited to have you here. So, up on today's deck is good old Aston Martin, and boy, do we have some juicy stuff for you.
No doubt, Colin.
Wait. I'm actually glad that we didn't record this yesterday because I didn't even see the news about Lance, but we'll start with our boy, Sappy Fernando, who just got done with an hour-long exclusive interview that aired about a week ago. And man, does he go into it, like really into it.
Absolutely. Heartfelt. I mean, Fernando Alonso seems to be having, I think from an American perspective, a sort of Aaron Rodgers moment, where he's both looking back on his career and simultaneously looking forward because his races and performances this year to date have been nothing short of sensational considering his age and the results that he's been having in an Aston Martin, which has slowed down over the course of the season to date. Meanwhile, Lance Stroll, the guy who is supposed to be his successor and being groomed for hopefully podiums in the future by his dad, Lance Stroll, is talking retirement, Colin. What do we make of this?
Dude, honestly, okay, first of all, nobody was talking about it, and I don't know why. But I really think that back on February 18th of this year, when he got into that bike accident and he broke basically both of his hands, broke his foot, his right foot and his right big toe to boot, like that had to have had like some sort of impact on his performance. Because like if you look back to last year when he was teamed up with Vettel, he was sticking with him. In fact, he beat him at the end of the season. And even at the beginning of this season, he seemed to be hanging around, but it seems like there was always something off from the very get-go of Lance Stroll's season. Like, granted, look at Fernando's beautiful face. He's also just an incredibly intimidating, calm personality, I'll be honest. He would intimidate the crap out of anybody. I think, similar to Aaron Rodgers going through like a sappy revival of his own career, like similar to the NFL, the NFL kind of has these veteran quarterbacks that, train up these rookie quarterbacks coming through their college systems, right? Whether it's Jalen Hurts sitting behind Carson Wentz, or if it's Zach Wilson now sitting behind Aaron Rodgers, if you go back in time, and it's freaking Tom Brady sitting behind Drew Brees. There's this mentor-mentee relationship between the two in the hopes that they can pick up what the other guy's putting down, essentially. And it just seems like maybe they're giving up, but where the heck did tennis come from? Does he have a tennis career to speak of?
It's true. He did. He had a junior career in tennis, and by all accounts, he was pretty successful. He was not bad in tennis. But, the fascinating thing to me about F1 is that unlike the NFL, where you've got the person waiting in the wings, riding the bench until that senior figure retires from the sport, you're literally watching both people race at the same time, right? And in Lance Stroll's case, I think the big thing we were expecting is for him to keep the gap to Fernando close. We wanted to have, a half a second, maybe a few tenths off of Fernando. No one was expecting Lance to beat out Fernando. In fact, I think all of us were really thinking last year that Sebastian Vettel was more the reason why Lance beat Vettel than Lance in a lot of ways. He was checked out. See the hair. Just see the hair. And that tells you everything you need to know. I mean, Valtteri Bottas is the same way at the moment, unfortunately.
And what the funny thing is, Sebastian Vettel comes across as one of those really prickly personalities, kind of like an Antonio Brown or like a T.O. in the locker room, just an absolute cancer to an organization. Very strong word, but like that's how they're described. So whatever. Sebastian Vettel comes across that way, but clearly he didn't have that effect on Lance because he performed. So it just really makes you wonder, like what in the world happened this year, unless it really was the injury. I don't get it.
I don't know. At the same time, back in 2021, Fernando Alonso had a very similar injury on a bike, and he walked away with a titanium jaw, and he became more powerful somehow.
He's got a literal jaw of steel, and he does have a beautiful jaw. Let's just put that out there. He's got a beautiful jaw. I'm just saying.
Listen, I think the bottom line between these two drivers is the fact that Fernando Alonso is a driver all day, every day. He's waking up, going go-karting through the summer break. He's going to sleep to wake up again and get back on the track. Meanwhile, Lance just doesn't seem to me to have the same kind of drive or motivation that Fernando literally has maintained for his entire F1 career. And I think that's just the big difference right now. It puts Lance Stroll in a difficult position. It's your son, right? He's on a rolling sort of indefinite contract. At the same time, you've got to get a compelling and fast driver into the car who wants to be there, number one, and number two is hungry. And I think that's always been the thing hanging over Lance, is that there is no penalty for him to fall behind Fernando. He's not going to get fired from that seat, Colin, until he decides to retire, which is a very unique situation in F1 where we're constantly wondering when the axe will drop on these drivers, i.e. Nick de Vries.
I don't know. I don't know whether I need to feel bad for Lance or not, right? His dad bought a team and bought him a seat at Williams, and he found some success. It's like, I was kind of skeptical of Lance at first, but then I was like, you know what? This guy's pretty fast. Like, maybe he does belong. But you just get this overwhelming feeling that the guy was just psychologically set up to fail. Like, there was no universe where it was going to work out. Who knows? Maybe this retirement stuff is just a bunch of smoke and a publicity stunt. But that kind of leads nicely into where the heck is Aston Martin at these days. You and I have our own like UAP style unidentified aerial phenomenon theories about what's going on with that. But seriously, I think there is something bigger going on with their performance fall off in the second half.
There's absolutely got to be, because let's just be real. Aston Martin came into this season with 100% wind tunnel time, which is remarkable. They were P7 in the standings in 2022 and got 100% wind tunnel time. Design-wise, that's monumental in this sport. They acquired Dan Fallows from Red Bull Racing, and they got Mercedes engine power. So they put the best aerodynamics and one of the best engines on the grid together with Fernando Alonso, who is a dogged driver who has always driven subpar equipment. See Alpine. Sorry, Alpine. Listen.
We should probably do an Alpine bit next and talk to Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney.
Yeah, they're cooking up something over there, hopefully. But listen, I think they had an amazing trajectory, potentially, strategically speaking, too fast of a trajectory at the beginning of this season. I personally feel like Lance Stroll told them to dial it back because they're building a factory at Silverstone. They're investing billions over the next 5 years to try and get Aston Martin to the front of the grid. And in this sport, getting too good too fast is just as bad as falling down in the standings and not being able to create a trajectory. So,
yeah, I mean, totally.
Yeah, we're going to see what happens, but I wouldn't be surprised that we don't see another podium for Fernando this year.
Yeah, why bother? Why bother?
Yeah. Well, I think you want to keep Fernando happy, especially if you need to go on a driver hunt at the end of this year. But I think he's already come out in that interview talking about how he's okay as long as the car next year has pace. And I think a lot of teams, not just Aston, have already diverted their attention to 2024.
100%.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's our video recapping Aston Martin's mid-season to date. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and let us know what you think in the comments below. What's going on with Lance Stroll? Do you love Fernando and his titanium jaw as much as we do? My name is John. His name is Colin. Till next time, thanks for visiting Prix Game.